In this video, I'm going to rate the Witcher Netflix series. This will be a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to get into plot points. I may mention some actors' names and the names of their characters, but unless you've read the books, you probably won't recognize them and the stories that they're involved in. So it should be totally spoiler-free. Now, I'm going to give you my background. This channel covers The Witcher 3, The Witcher 2, The Witcher 1 games, and fantasy TV such as Game of Thrones and The Witcher. And I'm a big fan of the Witcher property. But to give you a perspective, if I were to rate Season 8 of Game of Thrones, I would give it a D on this scale. I probably would give it an F, except I was so happy that they finished the story. Even if I didn't like the finish to it, I was happy that Game of Thrones got some ending and resolution. So overall, I'll give you the top line, but first you should subscribe to this channel for the latest news on The Witcher Netflix and other fantasy TV, as well as tips and tricks for the Witcher games. All right, so the top line, I'm going to do an A through F scale, and I'm going to rate it on 5 categories: acting, writing, special effects, fight sequences, and set design. And my overall grade is going to be an A. And I'll break it down why that is. First part is the actors. The cast of this was awesome. They did an awesome job. They had an awesome range of things that they did for the most part. And I'll go through some of the major characters and the major actors in the show. That, of course, starts with Geralt of Rivia. Henry Cavill nailed Geralt of Rivia. You want to talk about an actor that was immersed in his role. That was Henry Cavill, the gamer, the lover of the Witcher property, and he just did it justice. Then other major characters, Anya Shalatra. She had a tremendous range in this season. She had some tremendous writing backing her up, and she did an awesome job. I'd give her an A. Freya Allan, child actor. She didn't have as much on her plate as the other two. I'd give her a B. I found her a little bit flat in places, but overall, I thought she did a good job. And she was not terrible, and she was not spectacular. I know I might get some hate for that, but I don't think that she could have carried the series in the way that Anya Shalatra did this season, or Henry Cavill did. But she may do that in subsequent seasons. That's really up to both the writing before her and her development as an actress. Adam Levy as Mousak, I found him a little up and down. I give him a B. Jodie May as Queen Calenthe, an A, knocked it out of the park. I would be surprised if she's not nominated for Best Supporting Actress in a dramatic series. Joey Beatty as Jaskier, or Dandelion the Bard, I'd give him an A. He just was awesome. They say he was the last person cast, but he was awesome. And other persons, Fringilla Vigo is one of the principal actresses. I was really shocked by how big her role was in this season as a book reader. She really shouldn't have had any role in the first 2 books, but she had a huge role, and I'd give her a D. She acted like Darth Vader the entire time, and I thought she could have shown a lot more humanity than she did. For instance, to give it's not about this whole what skin color should the actor or actress be. It didn't matter to me. It was what she did. So, for instance, her uncle, Arturius Vigo, done by Terrence Maynard, a much smaller role, I'd give him an A. I thought he knocked what little lines he had out of the park. And Dara, which is also a show character, who interacted with Ciri principally, I'd give him a B, just like Freya Allen. But overall, it was the casting was the strongest part, and I put that as like 40% of my grade for the season. So A for the acting. Writing, I'll give that an overall A. I think that they were pretty faithful to the original text. I give them a B for that. There were some places where they deviated from the text, mostly that didn't make a difference, but maybe in episode 1 and 2 there were a few deviations that could have made the series, I think, better. In terms of the believability of the writing, I say an A. The pacing, I think, was an overall A, and the character depth was definitely an A. The Witcher is a character-driven story, and I think the writing team led by Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, the showrunner, did a good job, a very strong performance, and they adapted it well. And I think that having the 3 storylines was perfectly reasonable way to introduce Ciri and Yennefer. I think they had a lot of original material for Yennefer, and I thought they did a good job with it. For the most part, it was a very engaging story, and complemented by Anya Shalatra's terrific performance of Yennefer. I thought it was good. And so I give writing 30% of my weight of the grade. So right now we got 70% is an A. It's going to be hard to knock it down from an overall A after this. Special effects, I gave that 10% weight. And in special effects, I count 2 things: is the monsters and the explosions, magical things. So overall, magic, I would give an A. Other parts of the special effects, I'd give a B or C. So I think some of the explosions they had in the Battle of Sodden, in the finale, were kind of cheesy. There were like these crystal bombs they had, and I thought those just looked like smoke bombs. They didn't look that impressive. They didn't look like anything that would hurt anybody. But I thought the magic was very good. I thought that was fine, that the magical special effects were good. But the monster special effects were up and down. So in cases where the opening sequence was very good. The monster in the opening sequence, I thought it was great, and the choreography was great. And of course, that was the monster that everybody saw at the shows, so they must have thought that was their best monster. I thought where they had monsters in the dark, that also worked for me. Where they had kind of small shots in the dark, it was okay. It worked. Where it didn't work was the monsters that were in the light, right? So I think in episode 2, episode 6, they had monsters that you saw during the light of day, and they just didn't look realistic. They looked cheap, and I'd give those monsters a range of D to F, right? That they broke immersion. There was one particular monster that Game of Thrones fans will care about very much. Did not even hold a candle to Game of Thrones, and I'll argue that it didn't even hold a candle to the cartoon version in the Witcher games. Okay, so and I give that's 10% of the grade. 10% of the grade I give to fight sequences. The choreography for the fight sequences was awesome. The first episode fight sequence was awesome. The fight sequence at the episode 4, Banquets, Bastards, and Burials, was awesome. Wherever they had a sword fighting sequence, it was very well done. And then that's 10%. I give that an A. So overall special effects C, fight sequences A, set design I'm gonna give a B. I liked Sintra Hall. Blaviken was some parts of Blaviken were okay, some were not. Sintra Castle seemed just a little bit barren and not that interesting. Aretusa, I'd give that an A overall, but some of it maybe A or B. And then the set design, I think in episode 6, there was, for instance, they were walking on a bridge. I thought that looked pretty cheap, and that I'd give a D. And maybe the Battle of Sodden set, it was maybe a C. So it wasn't great. But overall, I give set design a B, and it's only 10% of the grade. It's not going to make a difference. So overall, I think it's a great first season for The Witcher. I'm glad they're going to continue it in season 2. They're going to have to do a lot more writing for Yennefer to keep her time on screen as high as it was this season compared to the books. And that'll be a challenge for the writers, I think. And can they do it? Can they knock it out of the park like they did this time? I don't know. We shall see. Overall, the last time I checked Rotten Tomatoes, the critics were giving this a 58%. Guess that would be a D or an F. And the fans were giving it a 92%. So I would say that's an A. So overall, I think it's an A, and the critics can stuff it. All right, so my name is Linus Wilson, and you should subscribe to this channel so you can hear the latest news on The Witcher Netflix and other fantasy TV, and gets tips and tricks for The Witcher games. Good luck on the path, Witcher.